So I made a video the other day, just a short about how to crimp electrical fittings onto wires, and my dad watched the video and he talked to me and he told me that there's a few things that I kind of missed and that I wasn't aware of. So I did a little bit of testing, and indeed he was correct, as is typically the case. So I wanted to do just a little bit of a lengthier video, and hopefully this will be helpful to those of you who don't already know how to find the correct sizes for connecting different fittings. Now there's a wide array of different fittings, different terminals, such as like a spade terminal, which has a friction fit, such as this. So this is a one version of a spade terminal, and there's different kinds depending on what you need to connect to. And then you have your just your loop connecting fittings. So these will typically be for perhaps connecting a ground or connecting basically to any kind of stud. So possibly to a hot lead off of the battery or anything like that. So generally speaking, you have three different sizes in common use. So you have your red, and there might be some variation depending on where it's from or things like that, but standard in North America, from my understanding, your red is going to be typically 22 to 18 gauge wire, so that's your corresponding size. Blue will be 16, 14, and so on. And then you'll have just some generic ones, which are probably just going to be a brass or a copper. Could also be another metal, but those tend to be more generic. I think there will be specific sizes, but sometimes you can just get like a generic size, and you'll just crimp it a little bit differently as your need requires. But as far as crimping goes, pardon, I do apologize. As far as crimping goes, you do need to have a pair of crimping pliers to do this properly. A lot of these will be built into different electrical tools and such, but this is your crimper right here. So you have kind of like a divot here, and then you have a rise here. And what my dad pointed out to me is that, let's see if we can get focus on this. Some fittings have a split, okay? So where your wire connects, if you can see that metal part down inside here, where your wire connects, on a lot of these there'll be a split. Some of them it's not as noticeable. Let's see if we can pick that up. Right here, I'll point with the wire. Right here there'll be a split. So there'll normally be a split on one end of this, okay? This one's not as noticeable. This red one here is more noticeable, okay? Some fittings don't have them, or they don't appear to have them. For instance, this spade terminal does not appear to have a joint anywhere. It seems to be a solid round piece, okay? But what my dad pointed out to me, and I tested it out, and it is actually a big deal breaker, if I can get this to focus. But when you have your crimp, if that'll focus on me, you need to put the split end facing the concave here. So how this would look, I'm going to get it set up on the red one to demonstrate. Okay. So it would be something like this. So as you can see, just got to rotate a little bit. If you can see, the split end is facing down into the crevice, and this one on the top end is facing the opposite way. And why this is important is because if you do it the other way, the part that comes down here will actually often separate the joint there, and you won't get a good crimp. And the other thing he mentioned too that is important is different fittings have different styles, but kind of depending on what you're working with, may require a different spot where you crimp it. But in this case, you would put the pliers, you would put it towards the back end here, okay? Because what you're actually crimping is the metal part in there. So that's a important thing to keep in mind. Now, I'm not going to crimp one of these. Actually, this one's mine. I don't want to crimp my dad's that I borrowed, but I'll crimp this one. So this is an incorrect wire for this. This is a 16 gauge wire here, and again, kind of along what I mentioned at first, how there can be discrepancies. This 16 gauge wire has a lot less copper in it than a comparable 16 gauge that I was also using today. So it just goes to show you, depending on which manufacturer made it, there'll be a little bit of variation sometime, but typically it should be pretty consistent. So I'm going to take a blue, if I was going to crimp these together, and you want to strip back about 1/4 inch. You don't want too much, because once it goes on, you could take a little bit more, but all you really need is just for it to contact. But you don't want exposed wire past here, because that could be a spot for it to ground out or such. So once you strip back your wire, slip it on, and a lot of these actually will have a little tab here that'll stop you from coming out through too far. I don't think either of these do, but spade terminals, for instance, will often have like this one here. It'll only really let you come through so far, so that way you don't interfere with your spade connection. So how you would go about crimping these is actually, I'll just demonstrate. It's not really gonna benefit too much, but I'll crimp with this, and it's probably not gonna crimp quite properly. But so lining up my joint towards the bottom end, sorry, and so it helps if you get your pliers set up with the piece exactly where you want it, then have your wire ready to go, and you put it in, and you'll kind of feel it come through. Now you can tell this one's way oversized, but then you're just going to give a firm crimp, and it just takes kind of practice to know how to crimp it properly to get the right size, and to get the right hold. So once you crimp it in place, so I'll just demonstrate with this blue one here. So if there's no stop, you just basically bring it through till the wire just comes to the edge there, and you should already have your piece in your pliers. It makes it a lot easier. Trying to go like this and get it on afterwards and like spread them far enough and whatever is can be hard, so it's easier to have it on. And then you're just going to give it a firm crimp, and then once you crimp it, just give it a little tug to make sure it's not going to come out. If you were to try to use the incorrect wire size, you could crimp it really hard and it's probably still not going to hold. And the other thing too is if you over crimp it, you'll start to split open the protective casing here. So there is a little bit of flex that it has, but if you go too much, that's not good, and you'll compromise the insulation on it. So it's a few. I'm just going to show real quickly while I'm here. I have one more. So this is a smaller spade terminal that I had to pick up, and this is quite small. So this is a style that would be like a male style, and this is a female style. So this would go onto a little tab. So in my application, I had a little push button for my for a little motor, and it's basically all it's doing is it's connecting the circuit, and it has two spades that I connect this to. And so this one's a pretty small one, but as you can hopefully see there, let's see if it'll focus. As you can hopefully see there, it has a split. There we go. It's very faint. So this is a red, so this would be your smallest size. This would be a 22 to 18 gauge. And so So that's just a quick rundown on different sizes and your different color codes. Makes it easier to find your sizes. So hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching.